We are making Jamaican keto patties or pies. I am so excited. I am going to start off by making my pie dough.
I've got 500 grams of mozzarella cheese. This is 2 cups. This is the mozzarella cheese that we get. This is from Aldi, and this is what the carbohydrate looks like. It's 1 gram of carbs per 100 grams, which is quite negligible, really. So that's my mozzarella cheese. I have got my almond flour. I use ground almonds from Aldi, and they are 6.9 grams of carbs per 100 grams. I'll be using soft cheese from Aldi. This is the full fat soft cheese, and I'll be using 50 grams of this. This has got 3.9 grams of carbohydrates, so I'll only be using half of that. So I'll be using 50 grams of this. I have got 1 egg. I have baking powder. I'll be using about a teaspoon of baking powder, and because this is going to be Jamaican inspired, I'll be using turmeric to color my dough, and I will be using curry powder to get that Jamaican kind of pate kind of thing going on. Right, so that will be for my dough. I'll also show you my ingredients for my mince. So I'm using Scotch beef mince. I get this from Morrison's. Look at the fat in that, it's brilliant. I love it. It is a bit pricey. I think this is 576 grams, but this is what we're dealing with. I have an onion, 2 garlic cloves, and a small ginger ready to blend. So I'll blend that. I have got allspice. I'll be using turmeric as well, and curry powder. I was hoping that I would have time in my cupboards, but I've run out, so this is all that I will be using. So let's get cooking.
I start off by mixing dry ingredients for my dough. I've got 200 grams of almond flour in there. I'm adding a teaspoon of baking powder. I add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That is pink Himalayan salt that I am using. I've also decided to add sweetener, so that's a teaspoon of sweetener. This is because Jamaican pates tend to have a sweetness, a little sweetness to the pastry. I then go ahead and add a teaspoon of turmeric, and then I'll add 2 teaspoons of curry powder. So these are my dry ingredients. I mix them together. Make sure that I'm getting rid of any lumps. Then once mixed, I'll set aside. I get my mozzarella and I microwave it for about a minute. I'm not sure about the water in my mozzarella, but we'll see. Okay, that's my egg. I add 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric to my egg, and then I try and mix my mozzarella together, but I'm just disappointed with that water. I then add my dry ingredients to my mozzarella. I start to mix that together. Just mix it in as if I was mixing dough, like you'd do with any kind of dough. You're just trying to get the ingredients to unite. So this gave me quite a lot of hand work. I was not expecting that this was going to turn out well at this stage, and I was quite worried. I felt like the flour wasn't mixing in with the mozzarella. The trick is patience is key. I then whisk my egg with the turmeric, and then I mix it in. I work this really hard. I'm using my fists. I'm trying to work it and I was pleased with this with my dough at this stage. It has united and it looks like real dough. I then make it into a bowl, and I cover the bowl with cling film, and I place it in the fridge to cool down while I make my mince. So I have my pan with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I add my mince and I stir until my mince has browned. Once my mince has browned, I then add my onions that are mixed with garlic and ginger, and I stir further. I then add 1.5 teaspoons of allspice. I add 1 teaspoon of curry powder, and I mix that together. Once the onions are cooked and tender, I add my passata and I continue stirring and mixing until I am satisfied that my passata has cooked. I then add 1/4 teaspoon of chili. At this stage, I decided to add the chili because I wanted my patties to be spicy a bit. I then go ahead and add a stock cube once I am satisfied that my ingredients have cooked through. A stock cube and about 1/4 cup of water. Remember, we do not want our mixture to be soggy, and so we add just a little water. At the end of this, I'm looking for my mince mixture to be nice and thick, so I cover that with the lid and I let it simmer. I'm satisfied that my mince has cooked. It's the right kind of consistency. While the mince is set aside to cool slightly, I get my pie dough out of the fridge. I am pleased with the way this baby looks. I am so excited. I shape the pie dough into a ball kind of shape or a circle kind of shape, and then I use my rolling pin. You want to roll the pie dough so that it's just thick enough that it rolls without tearing apart. I then get a round kind of plate. I don't have any pie cutters, so I improvise. So I cut circles and I place them on a plate. My circles were medium in size. I wasn't particularly looking for large pies, so this kind of size circle shape was good enough for me. So any leftover dough, you pull it together, knead it, and you roll more circles, or you cut more shapes. So I ended up with 13 shapes, and that was good enough for me. So this is my shape. I've got an oven tray with parchment paper. My oven is set to 200 degrees. So I use a tablespoon of my mince and I put it in the middle of my pie shape. I bring the edges together and I try and seal them with my fingers. I've got a tablespoon of olive oil in a cup. I dip the ends of my fork so that the dough does not stick to my fork, and then I use the fork to seal the edges. That gives you the look of an authentic pie. I gave it a thumbs up because I was so happy with that. Those are the first 2 pies that I made, and they didn't look attractive. So at this stage I had this to a T and I was happy. So I started on with my next one. I seal the edges and I dip my fork in olive oil and I seal the edges with my fork, and I did this for the next 9 pies. So just watch what I'm doing and you need to try this. I was so pleased with this pie dough. I loved the curry powder and the turmeric in my pie dough because it's really worked really well. So once that is done, I get a knife and I poke holes in my pies. This will help the steam to escape. So with the pies that were looking dodgy, I took some of the dough that I had left over and did some patchwork. I then cook my pies in the oven for 25 minutes and voila, these look beautiful. I let those cool down on a rack and they held together really nicely. Those are the patched up ones. Look how well they look. These pies held together really lovely. They had good flavors coming from them. They just tasted like authentic Jamaican pies. I carried them to work for lunch. I had 2 each time and they were absolutely beautiful. Thank you for watching. Please like, please comment, please share, please subscribe.